new location, kind of. I moved over from where I used to record, and also you can see my face. That's not a mistake. I decided that I would just show my face from now on, because who gives a shit, right? The older I grow, we used to call this, I can't turn it, but I'm sitting like this, like a yogi or something. Like we used to call this Turkish sitting, I don't know. That's what we used to call it in Hungary. I don't know if it's Turkish, but I can't do this stuff where you're like a monk and you raise your leg and shove it into kind of the cut, or I don't know what it is, cleavage between your hamstrings and your calf. Anyway, can't do that. You know, as I was walking, an epiphany dawned on me, and I've been thinking about shit as I usually do. And the epiphany was, you know, what if doctors only heal healthy people? That's the epiphany. My finger might be in it for a while, but you know, I need to shift hands, because I'm tired as fuck. What if I told you that doctors only heal healthy people, right? Because the more I've been to doctors, the more I realized I'm fucked up. I'm unhealthy in every kind of way. And they've never been able to cure me of anything significant. I have ruined myself in many ways, my health, some of which I still have control over, some of which I don't. But I think the problem is that they can only help you if you're already healthy enough to be saved, right? If you're not healthy enough to be saved, they won't save you and can't save you. And that's, I would say, the failure of the medical profession. That, okay, you can go to therapy and the therapist will tell you, just take control of your life, whatever. Sure, you might be able to do that, but what about those who are too depressed to even take control of their lives? What happens to them? And the answer is nothing. They just die, they commit suicide. And it just seems to me that there's some truth I'm trying to get to with this, which is that some of us are just so far gone, we're fucked no matter what happens. I'm probably one of those people, if I'm honest. Not because, there's nothing I can do, but fundamentally I'm fucked, right? And there are all these lies, mathematical lies, that are being told that, 50% of people can, lose weight, can save their lives, can get out of depression. But that doesn't mean anything to those who are not in the 50%. We are blinded by concepts that are supposed to crystallize reality. So what does the world have to offer to those who don't happen to be in the who's who, in in the VIP club of those who can be success stories, who can get out of the depression and they can be rehabilitated? What happens to those? What do we do with those people? We just throw them aside. We say, fuck you, you haven't tried hard enough. And you might call that tough love, but it's not really tough love necessarily. I think in many cases it's being afraid of the fact that there are some people that cannot be saved. Okay? We are not ready to face up to that fact. And so the best we can do is give them motivational speeches, turn on a Jordan Peterson video or something, and where you're told, clean your room, bucko. Again, clean your room. The postmodern neo-Marxists are coming if you don't clean your room. I'll go on hunger strike. And I was listening to and reading Mark Fisher, who I mentioned in the previous video, and something he pointed out was that mental health is privatized in line with neoliberalism, this market logic of there's no society, only individuals and their families, i.e. there's only you versus the market, like a Hobbesian economic Hobbesianism or Hobbesian economics, that everybody's out for himself, and how mental health is privatized. And one consequence of that, one product of that, or summation of that is, it's not the right word, implication of that is that if you fail, guess what? It's your fault. It's your fault. You haven't done enough, right? That's what people like Jordan Peterson would probably tell you. I probably shouldn't mention names because then, it's like, well, he never said that. Well, but it's clear in the rhetoric that the consequence of this neoliberalization is individualistic philosophy, which I'm for, but not in this way, because it's not really individual, but I will get back to that. Okay. Is that it's always your fault if you fuck up. So if you eat too much fast food and you can't lose weight and you die, that's your fault. Yeah, but who made the food? Who produced and distributed all that food? And like somebody brought that person into existence, and I'm not trying to go antinatalist right now. I don't, too many ideologies you can fall into it. If I say something, I will get a crowd, blah blah. Don't say this, say that, and you're wrong, and So I'm just mentioning that in passing, that somebody brings you into existence, and you're brought into what? You're brought into a society. And that's another funny thing we could talk about is, it's the part of an ideology is a self-defense mechanism. So critiquing society, something philosophers and writers have been doing for thousands of years, has been turned into a joke. And it's almost like a neoliberal conspiracy theory that, you're not allowed to critique society because the moment you even say the word society, people laugh at you and call you Joker. It's almost like it was like that's why the movie Joker was made, is to make it even more ridiculous. That like, what, you're critiquing society? Or what are you, Joker? Are you Joaquin Phoenix? Anyway, the point is that you're brought into what we call a society or a civilization, whatever, And in this society, civilization, whatever, all it does is it turns you into a slave to it, right? It's a slave master relationship between you and society, in which you have to pretend you're free, especially in this neoliberal. Like, you always had to. People always imposed responsibility on you and told you that this is your duty, right? You had to be a Christian, and you had to believe, and you had to work, and you had to raise children. But nowadays, especially, even those structures are being taken away to turn you into a complete individual, a complete atomized individual, in which everything is really your fault. It's not your kids anymore because you don't have kids. It's not God anymore because God doesn't exist. It's you. You. And even this idea that everything is one, this kind of Eastern philosophy that everything is one, it's kind of turned on its own head. That this is supposed to be spiritual, but as somebody like Slavoj Žižek has pointed out, Eastern philosophy is commodified too. And that we don't need to hear that everything is one, because everything is already one in society. What we need to hear is the opposite now. What we need is dualism, pluralism, that you're not one, you're many things. You're not just, even if you fail, you're not a failure. You're not the failure. You might be that, but you might be also other things. And certainly rhetoric of determinism has seeped into the conscious, the unconscious, the collective unconscious, in such a way that we now think there's nothing we can do because we don't have free will, and we're not even selves anymore, right? Even that idea has been eradicated. We're just little things moving about. But these sort of come together to form this idea that you're atomized, that you can't be, that you can't sustain yourself. No, but that's kind of contrasting. But what I'm trying to say is that, like, maybe this idea that you're not a self is actually good. In a way, it's unhealthy because it takes away your feeling of accountability and self-determination, agency. But in other ways, good, because another ideology that we have is that everything is one, that you're only one thing. You fail on the market, you're a failure. You don't graduate, you're a failure. And it's always, the difference between now and the past is that now it's all your fault. It's all your fault because you had all the opportunity. You were born into a rich country, and you're ungrateful. You're a commie, Why don't you just sit back and be thankful? Jordan Peterson and Steven Pinker have told us that the world is getting better. So, especially because of the Enlightenment, because of liberal values. That and you're an ungrateful bitch. Why are you so miserable? Why is it that everybody's depressed and miserable and lonely? When the GDP is going up, the numbers are going up, right? Look, I saw this video where there was this guy, what's his name? It's kind of controversial now, but Russell Brand, where he was shown a chart of like GDP or something going up, whatever it was, and he was like, "Oh, you showed me a chart. Oh, God. Thank you. All my problems have been." I can't do his accent. "You've shown me a chart. Thank you, love. All my problems are gone now." That was terrible. It doesn't matter. We don't care about the charts because in a way it's a lie. It's not a lie in the sense that I'm denying even the possibility of quantification. I'm just saying it's a lie in the sense that we're all individuals and we don't participate in the GDP. We only participate in ourselves enjoying the GDP, but that's not enough. You know, and when you say that, they shoot you down. They say, what are you talking about? Don't you see the GDP is going up? Like, yeah, we understand that it doesn't solve every problem, but at least it solves us. But at least we're rich. Like, it's better that we're rich. And it's like, you're not allowed to say anything because you're always shut down by statistics, as if that will solve it. You know, that even if the statistics are true, they're fucking irrelevant to many of our lives and many of our sufferings. And you can't state that as a scientific fact. So that's the tyranny of science, you know. And I am really skeptical. Like, I don't want to sound like one of these. Well, I don't know what I want to sound like. Whatever, people will assign whatever. But I am skeptical I am skeptical of science and all that. But because it doesn't really capture the truth of our existence. In fact, I think it's always subjective. You know, I'm a vitalist, and you know, whatever the fuck the word is. Like, I'm not a rationalist. I am you know, I am more like a Schopenhauerian, or you know, a person who believes that it's the will that keeps you going, and everything is rendered to your consciousness, and it subjectifies everything. It's not vitalism. I don't remember what the fuck it's called. But actually, oh yeah, it's voluntarism. And you know, the point is really that not that notwithstanding doesn't really matter. The point is that it doesn't capture all of our essence clearly, and it's so obvious that there's so many tricks you can pull. Like, one of the major tricks that somebody like Steven Pinker pulls is the conflation between absolute and relative, right? Or the usage of relative in lieu of the absolute, right? The absolute number. So he says that the world has been getting better, and this is a major sticking point for me. I hate this a lot, because I think it spits in the face of victims. But he basically says, okay, so relatively speaking, the world is getting better because there's less murder, less violence, less hunger. And first of all, that's already contested. You can watch videos of that on YouTube, read books about it. Jason Hickel, YouTubers have produced takedowns of this crap. That, you know, basically the World Bank just randomly assigns the number of poverty. I can't never pronounce that word. Of you know, how much you need to live a decent existence, and they have been charged of underestimating the number of that you need, and it's actually like many times above what it should be. And if you just look at it that way, the number of people in poverty is a lot higher. But I would say there's an even deeper fundamental point, which is that he says himself that the only way to do social science is to play around with numbers. That to look at the relative number. Of course, if you measure the absolute number, then everything will have gone up. Rapes will have gone up, murders will have gone up because people have gone up. Right? The population has gone up. And so, but it's an admission. It's an admission that the whole enterprise is dishonest, because it's based on the false idea, based on the idea that the relative is more important than the absolute, which is just bullshit. Because the victims are victims, people are suffering people. So it might make sense methodologically as a social scientist to use relative numbers, but it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense in terms of understanding the truth of our situation. It's a lie, and it's supposed to be a lie, right? I read the novel, I reread the novel No Longer Human by Dazai, one of my favorite books, because I'm like the main guy, Yozo. And in it, has a long ramble. I can't read it because I'm recording. Maybe I print it out or something. But hand copy it, and read it, because it's wonderful. That he's talking about how science, that science is a lie, in the sense that he was kept awake by the statistics that if everybody leaves 3 eyes of rice, I don't know what they call, like little pieces of rice, right? I think they call eyes, I don't know. Little pieces of rice uneaten, wasted, then the 10 million grams of rice are wasted every year, right? And he says, but that's a lie, right? Because we're not a monolith. We're not one creature who can waste 1 billion grams of rice. We can't actually do that. So it's a lie. And that's exactly it. That there is something fundamentally dishonest about this enterprise. And you see how the blaming of the individual comes in immediately, that it's your fault now. Like they're assigning and like, of course you shouldn't waste the food. Like that's true. It's true that you contribute to the waste. But they make you feel like you're this awful guy who does this. And it's like nothing actually happened, because I left a little bit of food to rot because I couldn't eat it. I didn't want to eat it. Nothing actually happens, right? And of course the big guys, the people who produce the food, the major producers, the capitalists who withhold the food from people who need it, and the countries who withhold the food from those who need it, they are the ones who are the true killers. I mean, how many people die of starvation still every year? I mean, I'm reading statistics all the time about, and these are real statistics, the absolute number, that thousands of children every day die of starvation, right? And everybody knows that we have plenty enough food to feed everyone. Like, it's perfectly obvious, right? That's what I'm told, and it's probably true, right? Or at least we could give them more food than we do now, right? But we don't do it. And of course it's difficult because there are wars and all that kind of stuff. But obviously we could be doing more than we are doing. And we could tax the rich, and we could close the little channels of stealing taxes, the tax havens, that the major companies go to Ireland or something, and that's where they cash out, so they don't barely have to pay. They stole billions of euros from Europe every year that could go to structural programs to raise the poor out of destitution or something like that, right? We could always be doing more, but we don't. And the downfall is always on the individual. You are the one who is made to feel guilty because you didn't do your job, right? You're unemployed, you're wasting food, your population numbers are going down, and you're the one who is not reproducing. Or you're a despoiler of youth because you spread pessimism, right? That's what Jordan Peterson was crying about. That you're not allowed to tell the truth. That the world sucks, and maybe we have good reason not to reproduce. And maybe we have good reason to be afraid of climate and all that crap. Doesn't matter. The point is that people like these conservatives shit on you because you're not jumping up and down with joy. You're not all that excited about life as they are, with their millions and millions of fans, millions of dollars and millions of fans, and a more or less happy existence. that not everybody gets to have that, and not everybody is as stupid as they are. So they are despoilers of youth. They're Socrates, because they're going around telling people that everything sucks, even though it does, right? And if it's your fault. Everything is always your fault, right? That they give you the pills, they give you the therapy, maybe they tell you to get your shit together, and if you can't, because you're irreversibly sad about the world, or you have conditions that you just can't fix. Some people are like that. Everybody who commits suicide is probably like that, or well, I shouldn't say that, but I don't know. That's not true. Many of them are, and in a way, all of them are, because they couldn't do it, right? But they couldn't. In a way, the statement is correct, because they really couldn't do it, right? They couldn't do it in the moments that required them to pull through. They couldn't pull through when it was required of them. But and if you wanna admit that this is true, you're a criminal who cause people to end their lives or something. You cause on people to end their lives, and you're depressing them, and it's like we're not depressing anybody. Like, if you knew anything about depressive people, you would know they get enchanted by pessimistic content, not the opposite. That's a fact. Everybody knows that. And maybe you get bummed out a little, but I think you would get even sicker if optimism was all around you and you couldn't get any dose of pessimism, and even a single dose of pessimism, right? That makes you a lot lonelier. When you're in a room of people and they're all happy and they're all, have their lives together, that's when you're the most miserable, when you're different. So pessimists actually help. It's this fucking optimists with apparently no empathy to people suffering, or for people suffering. They are the ones who truly cause depression, right? Because they make you feel. This is what Mark Fisher said, that why am I still sad? I'm supposed to be happy. Am I ungrateful? Am I a piece of shit? God, I'm not working hard enough. Can I retire my parents? Because that's now on us too. We have to retire our parents, because they don't have any money. The family structure is thinning out, so there's only like 1 or 2 kids who have to take care of them, and they don't make enough money because neoliberalism sucks and capitalism. They haven't been taken care of by society, and they're not being taken care of now they're not being taken care of anymore because of this idea that you have to take care of them, because neoliberalism, because and just general inflation, and the wars are inflating everything, and the whole system crashes. 2008, the whole system crashed, and clearly there's something wrong with the system, right? That it's funny that capitalists defend capitalism, but by like they defend the selfish parts of capitalism by saying that people have the right to property, and it's kind of, even if other people are poor, you can't take away their property and force them to sell and pay taxes, and you can't force them to pay 70% tax rates because they have the right to property. And so, as if that's not already a silent admission that your system is not good enough, that your system throws people to the wayside, to the curb, tosses them into the meat grinder because they didn't happen to be as lucky as other people who were born at the right place at the right time, right? Because the system is right, because the system is unfair, because some people are born in better economic eras, and they're born with higher intelligence and better environments, and there's no There's no tier system in capitalism, right? So everybody has to compete against each other. A 20-year-old guy with $20 has to compete against a guy with $20 billion. I mean, it's open weight. It's like sumo, you know. But there are no weight divisions, and this is one of the only domains in which we don't have weight divisions. And to tie back to the point of, I wanted to say something about individualism, that it's not really individual because, you know, because the state is married with capital, right? And so in this way we actually have communism, in the sense that capital is already, this is Mark Fisher's point, that capitalism is already subsumed by the state, right? And Chomsky also says that if you take away decision making from the state, it doesn't disappear, it just goes over to capital. Right? So it's still a small clique of people that control everything and control the market, and that's what capitalist defenders hate, even though that's exactly what it is. It's communism, socialism for the rich, right? Another point I wanted to raise, back to this point of family, is that this Slavoj Žižek also points this out, that this idea, this is very prominent in Hungary, where I am, with Orbán, you know, essentially a far-right-esque government, very reactionary, all this stuff, you know, called the liberal democracy, which I would have called, I would call neo-illiberalism. I never heard anybody say that, but it's a neo-illiberalism. That's a nice coinage, I think. And one of the fundamental ideologies is that family comes first. And that's supposed to be a conservative idea, even though it's anything but, because it actually gives you the excuse. I don't know if you can hear me. I don't know where the microphone is, but anyway, it actually gives you the excuse to be rapacious on the market, right? Because you're doing it for your family. But another point to make similar to this, that I would make, is that it's just the same thing. It's deferring responsibility to the person, outsourcing to the person. That only in a family structure, right? That no longer can you rely on the state. But that's a good thing, because you're supposed to rely on your family. So, you know, like, they're pretending to be, they're sneaking in this conservative ideal, even though it's just neoliberalism plus. It's just, you know, it's the premium package, for, you know, that of more than one person buying the package, you know. It's not just you on the market, it's you and your families. That's what Margaret Thatcher said, I think. So they're pretending like this is conservatism, even though they don't give a shit. That somehow capitalists think that conservatives tend to be capitalistic, but I don't understand what the two has to do with each other. Like, what the two things have to do with each other? Nothing. Capital is not conservative. It doesn't give a shit. It's a parasite that will feed on anything, and it's a symbiotic relationship, actually. So, you know, it's a symbiotic relationship because it can feed on anything you give it. So if you really want to be a conservative, you first have to prove that you're not beholden to capital, which Orbán doesn't do. Right? Republicans don't do that, I'm sure. Most of them. You know, and you know, that's also systemic. I know they're all in the pocket of the rich, but I know more about this. And here it's just completely given over to capital. And of course you can understand it. Like, you could say it's just realpolitik. It's just you know, that it's just realpolitik, in the sense that Orbán is a hands-on politician who just goes where the money is. That's clearly what he's doing. He just goes where the money is, right? He sees, you know, the capital coming in from the east, so he opens up, you know, builds factories everywhere. He doesn't give a shit. He just wants. I don't know what drives him, but he's clearly embedded well in the neoliberal system, and Hungary is essentially a tax haven with very low taxes, and, you know, major advantages to multinationals who pay very little tax. You know, like that a worker who goes into a factory pays more tax, relatively speaking, than the rich. And in this sense, the science does make sense. Like, you're not supposed to. Obviously, they pay more money in absolute terms, but they're not supposed to pay more. They're not supposed to pay less relatively, right? You know, so that's fucked up. That's one thing where you can employ relativity in statistics and say that's fucked up, right? Yeah. So you know. So anyway, I think the fundamental point is that everything is privatized, and we're all blamed for everything, that it's our fault. Why don't we do it? But, you know, that, like, why am I not healthy, or why am I fucking myself up by eating too much and doing all these unhealthy things? And it's like, I was born into a society that atrophied my physicality, right? Society destroys your individualism. It destroys your physical potential. It's not fair to blame the person when you can't go 2 seconds without seeing fast food, which is essentially has the effects of drugs. I mean, it's a drug. Everything we do, all this consumption, is just drugs. They clearly have the same effect. If you knew some biochemistry, I'm sure you could explain it exactly how it's the same. That's legal. You know, you can smoke weed in Hungary. That's bad. You know, drugs are bad. Don't do it. But you can eat whatever you want. You can watch as much TV as you can. That's okay. And your science is a good thing. Science is a good thing, even though it's clearly we're just making more tools to kill each other. You know, that they teach you how to do science, and they tell you it's a good thing because it helps society progress. And it's like, we progress where? Yes, we live in more comfort, and relatively speaking things are better, but the numbers, the absolute numbers don't lie, should be the credo. You know, that should be the slogan, you know, that because of all this technology, more and more people in absolute terms are being destroyed and killed in all kinds of ways, outside of our countries and inside of our countries, right? So they sort of cite this, optimists like to cite this this idea that more people are suffering from obesity than hunger. And, you know, don't you see that's a bad thing? Like, it's not. It's a bad thing in the sense that we have acquired all this new technology which is supposed to make things better, and you're just destroying people on the other side of it. You know, and we're supposed to be happy about that. That's a good thing. You know. But the most fundamental point about technology, I think, is that technology will be just used to destroy more people in the future in ways like this, and we will be even more acquiescent, assimilated, approbated to capital because of that. Because our bodies will be atrophied. We have no interest in organizing in a workplace because there will not be a workplace. There might be a visual workplace, but nobody will give a shit to organize in a visual workplace, you know. I think it's very unlikely that people are not coming together anymore, right? New religions will be established, already are, right? The religions of techno-science and you know, communism and all that kind of ideas that don't even necessarily disagree with, but like communism, but I just don't think it's likely, and the point is that these are just religions, that people need something, and we're not moving towards a rational end, right? We're just, all we're doing is we're hiding away, we're dreaming about things, we commodify everything instead of doing anything. And we're making more technology and we're lying with statistics. You know, like, and we also love alternatives. Like one of our outs, one of our ways of escape is alternativizing everything, like crypto. You know, you know, the legacy system, the normal economy, the normal finance, that sucks. So let's make crypto instead. So what? You haven't fixed the problem. You know, you know, the normal diet that we've been ascribed to eat sucks. So let's do keto. You know, you could mention vegan, but the point is not to say it's not necessarily bad, but to say that we have these little fractions and factions to which we escape. Like, instead of collectivizing and moving towards a rational end point, something, we just have these little cliques, and everybody is an ist of something. You know, I don't like life, so I'm an antinatalist, and all I have to do to be an antinatalist is to not have kids, and somehow I've done something. All I have to do to be a communist and to be a leftist is to virtue signal about how you know, bad right-wingers are, and make an angry tweet when somebody says an insensitive word, and watch movies and make YouTube videos about the movies, video essays, right? And look at me, I have this leftist energy about me, but I haven't changed shit. We're not changing shit. We're making shit worse by acquiescing and assimilating and approbating to the function of life and to society. So I haven't been able to find a solution. The solution I tend to go for is just give up. But that's no longer a radical idea. Like George Carlin used to say, he said, if you think there's a solution, you're part of the problem. And the problem nowadays is almost the opposite, that everybody thinks they have a solution, but the solution is just something on the side. Let's dream about radical politics. Let's dream about a new economy, that Bitcoin will save us all, even though it hasn't and won't. Let's dream about some AI who will, you know, maybe the AI, the biotech will save us. The transhumanist stuff. It's all just a different religion. Just say they have the function of a religion anyway, right? And even these movies and TV shows that are coming out, which I've talked about ad nauseum, so I won't even mention them now, are just a way to reproduce this religiosity, that we always have something that we come to, that we bandy about, like a popular TV show, movie, a game, and the whole function it serves. I feel like my ass doesn't work. Okay. The whole function it serves is to pacify us into inactivity, into what some philosophers have called interpassivity, right? I don't remember who coined it. That we pretend to do things when we don't. And that's a lot of intelligent philosophers have always pointed out the problem that we always defer life. We don't live in the moment. We don't live for the now. We don't live for the thing itself, authenticity, the absolute. We just live for something in the future, right? Something will save us. We defer our responsibility indefinitely to the future. And in that way we don't live. We're living dead, zombies. And that's our life. We're afraid of the future, afraid of the past, afraid of action, so we just defer everything. And that you can see that in a million different ways. I'm sure you could give, porn is a perfect example that, the century is the century of the self, in the sense that of the one, you're just touching yourself all day. Everything is about you, even though it's not, because you don't even like yourself or you don't care about yourself. But you can't care about, paradoxically, you can't care about anything except yourself, because that's all you do. You jerk off, you watch a TV show, you virtue signal, you eat some unhealthy shit, and that's your life. Or you turn to fitness, and fitness is gonna be your escape. You're one of these self-improvement guys. You turn to Seneca and all this stoicism, and that will be your escape. But it's all just cope, which I'm not necessarily against, but it doesn't constitute a solution to the horrors of life and to the horrors of the world. Oh, okay, I'm running, I'm lifting weights. Who cares what you do? You're just a slave. Where is the escape hatch? Where can we live so that we can actually live and not just live for the record or for the future? Even the market is just about the past. Because on the market, all we can do, we can never make sovereign decisions on the market, because on the market all we are is our capital, which always comes from the past, right? So the market doesn't forgive. The market doesn't give second chances. So, and the only reason we are on the market is to make profits for the future. And we're biggest winners if we do that. But in the process, we've escaped ourselves. We escaped the present. All we did was escape to the past, escape to the future, and done absolutely nothing in the present. Even stoicism and working at all that crap is just a way to say, I'm escaping from something. Well, if you're escaping from something, you're not winning, because you're not supposed to escape. If you're improving, that means you're caught in a binary in which you're not good enough already. But you're never gonna be good enough. You can't step on a path that keeps going forever. There was a philosopher called Mihastatter that I'm influenced by, who said, one place is as good as another in the valley without exit.